Great, so I'm going to officially call this meeting to order, and it is, my phone is over there, it looks like
6:36.
6:36. So item number one, any additions to the agenda? Like there's no additions to the agenda from online, anybody in the room? Okay, hearing none. So Mary, you said the sound is terrible.
What is?
Does it sound like you're in a echoey chamber?
I'm gonna try one more thing, but go ahead and like roll
yeah.
through the. Oh,
Can you nod your head or shake your head in how you're hearing? Is it good? Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's
We're
go.
gonna go with it.
Don't
All
worry,
right.
Jenny.
Any public comment? Hearing nothing and seeing no members of the public, we'll move on. So we have minutes from the September 19th, 2024 meeting. Do I hear any motion to, does everyone have the minutes? I had a chance to review them.
I looked at them online, and not this format, is exactly PDF. On the other form you see online, it has the wrong date at the top. It says the Library Board of Trustees meeting Thursday, September 23rd. So that just get, that's what's confusing. I was like,
all right. I'll take a look and see what's up with that. But yeah, okay.
just.
On the website. Okay.
Motion. I move that we accept the minutes from the September 19th meeting as submitted. Anybody second?
Second.
Okay, we'll call, well, any discussion? Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Or raise your hand if you're online. Okay, all those voting no? Any abstentions? Bonnie is abstaining.
I guess I'm two of those.
Okay, so we're moving on to number 5, library director's update.
Okay. I'll be quick since we have a lot to go through, but a quick update on some of the things that have been work that's been happening on the building. Everyone knows that we finished getting the front steps done. Due to this town work with Project WorkSafe, which has to do with VOSHA review, we had an opportunity to do the back steps too, which, you know, we believed to be legitimate, but probably VOSHA would have a few things to say. So the guy that did the front steps was able to do the back steps before everything got cold and the snow fell. And those were, you know, there were trees growing out and stuff. So they're done. So now both of the major entries to the building are complete. And the other thing that we had done is recently had the ramp into the youth activity room pulled up because we knew there was a leak down there and it was coming out from there. So we pulled up, there was this, if you can remember, steps and then a ramp to the side. So we had all that pulled up and put just a straight ramp in. So it's still fully ADA compliant. The room's still accessible. And we discovered that the water is coming in from the elevator shaft area of the building, but conveniently, the elevator repair guy was in today. And so I said, oh yeah, we might be getting some water in. So he opened the doors with the elevator raised and we could look down in there and there was no water down there. So it's outside of the elevator shaft coming into the building. So the next step is to talk to the town and figure out, you know, because this is something we're going to have to do something about. And probably insurance, at least we should consider whether insurance is covering it or anything. And I gather that about 10 years ago, maybe a little less, there was quite a bit of excavation done because there was water intrusion happening in that vicinity then. It was more in the stairwell. And that was all sealed off and everything was all dug out. And presumably, like, it's now coming in at the spot that they ended sealing it off. And so now we'll just keep going. But for the time being, at least we know we're not. We know where it's coming from. It's not going to short the elevator out. It turns out there's a giant sump pump in the bottom of the shaft of the elevator. And so if water does get in there, there's a way to deal with it. That's not where the problem is, though, because he's like, you would know if the sump pump was running, which it hasn't been, and there's no evidence that water's in there. So it's outside the perimeter now. Anyway, that's the next fun thing to work on. But the real next fun thing is that the Friends of the Library are having their holiday party on Saturday from 11 to 1. And last year's single Squishmallow, which disappointed scads of children who didn't win it, has been replaced by 3 separate Squishmallows that were donated by someone else. And so everybody should put some tickets in to see if they can win one of these god-awful things. There'll be music from the Springfield Stringers, I believe is what they're called, and lots of food. Springfield Springers. Is that not what I said? I was trying to get it right. I know it's not the town, and so, but it's,
The same
it's
folks we had last year.
yeah, it's the same folks we had last year, but this year apparently they're bringing extra instruments and are going to encourage people to play along. So, the Friends annual appeal is going very well. They have raised already over $4,000, and I expect they'll raise over $5,000 and hopefully a little more than that, which is really good for their first year of doing this. And so they seem excited. And we have created a bit of a monster because several people have joined the Friends at the benefactor level. And so now we have people coming in and demanding we treat them better because they're benefactors. And so we have to put a stop to that nonsense as soon as we can. So, but no, it's all going really well. Yesterday up here, we had a section of the AIDS quilt that Bellas Falls Pride showed. And there were a ton of people came through. It was great. A lot of people who I see around town and know a few here and there, but don't normally use the library. So that was great to have them come through. And the Bellas Falls Pride people were thrilled with being able to use the space. Are talking about hosting contra dances up here now, and, which is going to knock the bulbs out of the lights. But they are already planning on having a section to show next World AIDS Day, next December, and they want to. They're already thinking about it because they want to get a section that might have some local relevance. And so, but it was really cool. It was really cool. Yeah, I hadn't met either of them before either, and no, it was really great. And also, it's when I worked at Bowdoin, we had this little display of Joshua Chamberlain stuff. He was like a Civil War general and all this stuff. And people all summer would come in on vacation and they'd walk by this little display and they'd be all choked up. And I've sat next to this thing for 6 years and really didn't care much about it at all. But yesterday there were people coming downstairs after seeing it who were really, noticeably kind of emotional. And it was very cool because it was like something the library partnered with someone else to do that just really was a different kind of thing. And so everybody felt, really good about it. So that was nice. And then just the last thing I'll say is that the state, collects annual stats from the library. They're due at the end of December. And so I will be submitting them this month, but that'll give us a chance to look and see how we are relative. The snapshots we've done throughout the year suggest that pretty much things are good as they have been and stuff like that. A real tell will be if we continue to see the trend towards people using audiobooks and Kindle books from Libby, that is putting a little bit of, reduction in the print stuff, but only a tad. It seems like it's more adding than taking away from. And so, but we'll know all that by January. And then about 10 months later, because that's how long it takes the state, they'll release the statewide stuff, which gives us the chance then to compare ourselves to all the other libraries and see how things are going. So those stats are really fabulous. Everybody can look at them. They're online. They're really comprehensive, but they're also, you can sort them by all sorts of different things: size of population, size of budget, all this kind of stuff. And so they really are a great way of directly comparing ourselves to our peers, and everybody is really diligent about completing them and stuff. So it's a good, thorough kind of a data set to look at. So that'll be coming up this month. And that's about it. I guess I'd say, we have the new staff members we have, brought a lot of enthusiasm and good energy into the place, which is really fun. And, it is thanks to, their kind of starting and me insisting that they not overload themselves, but just kind of get to understand what they need to do. It's like I said to people, you just need to check out books and be able to check them back in and get people what they want. All the rest of it's this kind of noise in the system. Start with that. And that's what led to the newsletter being revived, because there were these people who had time and they were like, oh, we should do a newsletter. So that's why we have this newsletter that's now coming out every month, which we've been wanting to do for a long time, but it's like, hard to find in the regular flow of things how to, get something in, but these people had time. So that's worked out really well. And they're both of them were really fun. So that's been good. So that's it. We can move on unless there's questions.
I was wondering if you mentioned the Libby, does our cost participate in Libby depend upon how many books we check out?
Nope. Nope.
So it's a flat fee.
Yeah, I don't think we pay for Libby at all. I don't think we do. I think it is one of the few things, but significant things, that the state actually pays for and is available to all libraries. So one of the, I can't think of where it gets charged. I don't think we pay for it. But one of the things that means is we have no control over what's in it. So the state's the one that negotiates the content that's available. But there's tons of stuff. And so it's good. And people really like it.
Have we suggested to the Friends to maybe purchase a shelter for the bibliobite?
Oh, God, I know. Yes. Now that the Friends have raised a whole bunch of money, that's exactly what we plan on doing.
It's an expensive, lovely bike, and I just cringe when I see it
I'm with you.
looking sort of forlorn out there.
I know, and it should be in the building except for the parade of lights, and that's what we should have brought it in and taken it back out. And it fits really nicely in the building. It's just hard to get in and out. It has to go up the front steps.
You can buy one of those metal frames with like the tarp over the top.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like a garage, but it's movable.
Yep.
Which would be much better than just draping your tarp around.
Which blows off of it in that little wind tunnel there,
Yeah.
like regularly. So, yes, thank you.
Probably you'd have to get permits.
For that. It fits really nicely in the building, and then it becomes like a talking point and stuff. So it's good to have in the
But
building.
if it's one of those mobile things, you don't have to get a permit because they're mobile.
Yeah, and if we just took it down, it was only used when it was a problem. Anyway, yes, there needs to be something done about the storage of the bibliobike. This is true.
The fiscal year 26 budget. Ian, you wanna, so I should mention that the budget committee did meet with, the finance committee did meet with Ginny and reviewed the budget. If I'm remembering correctly, this was before the holidays. We did approve to make a motion to the board of the support of the committee of this budget.
Yes, that's
Ian, you want to talk about some highlights?
yeah, definitely. So for those that weren't part of it, it's a level funded budget. It's actually $80 less. This happened last time too. I've given up. I think there's a glitch in the system somewhere, but it all adds up. It's still, we're saving the town $80, so we're going to go with that. It's the same tax appropriation as last year. We did get an $8,000 increase last year. And I think that it's at the right spot relative to, as we've discussed in the past, other libraries in the state, other similar libraries in the state. I think, we have the right amount of money to work with. And there's a couple things worth noting. One is that the appeal has moved from the library to the Friends. That's intended to be permanent. When I had a conversation with a couple other library directors recently, they all do it that way. I mean, this makes the most sense to do it that way. And so this budget reflects that shift. There's no annual appeal income, direct appeal it's called in here. And then because it takes a long time with these annual budgets that are approved, considered and approved, quite a bit in advance of the fiscal year even starting, in next year's budget, we'll make additional adjustments, as a result of that change. But the most significant change is that, we had a resignation in October this year for one of the 3 full-time staff members. And at that time, I really thought about and talked to some other people about the position, which was kind of this 3 jobs in one position: historical reference, general reference, and technology. And, for the last 2, I want to be careful not to criticize individual people. That's not a normal skill set that's, found across individuals. And so I learned that the person who had the position when the position was, basically drawn out or created, did those things well, then left. And so the position stayed as it was, except for the fact that it's not a normal distribution of skills and responsibilities. And so I'm not going to fill it. And instead, I've adjusted so that I think it'll work much better to have some part-time people do those individual things separately. That also is really an important shift because our percentage of our budget dedicated to compensation was too high relative to our peer libraries in the state. And so, because of those different circumstances, it presents a really good opportunity to make the adjustment to not have a 3rd full-time person. The last 2 people that were in it were really 80% full-time anyway. And so that's only just full-time according to the town's criteria. 30 hours really is the minimum, and they were at 32. And so it was practically a part-time job anyway. Also, just because of the way the library is staffed, and there's no work here that's, we don't need a full-time cataloger. We don't need a full-time reference person. We don't need a full-time IT person. And so, yeah, it's great to combine some of those, but then the expectation turns out to be somewhat unrealistic that somebody's going to embody all those responsibilities. And so I think this is an excellent change for us to make. I think it does something that has been really lacking, which is give us flexibility. And, this is the first change, I think, that since I've been here where I felt like we were able to make adjustments to the budget that were really going to benefit the operations of the library. And so these are all voluntary changes, right? I mean, we're not making personnel changes, at a cost to people that people are choosing to retire. And so or resign, and we're making some adjustments based on that. But it also does a couple other things. It gives us the chance to bump up in a small way the programming line, which we also would like the Friends to continue to supplement, because we're doing some exciting programming, and we'd like to be able to really keep bringing in some programs that are bringing in, 30, 40, 50, or 60 people. And that sometimes takes a little blending, and it takes a little extra work and stuff like that. Also, we were able to increase the acquisitions lines, which are the, materials purchasing lines. So fiction is up, considerably. Nonfiction is up. Children's is up. And, so these relative to our peers have been really low. And so this doesn't even get us probably into the zone we would like to be in, but it gets us a lot closer. And so that's a really significant change. These are the things, that we don't sit around and read the books all day. It's for the towns, for the patrons to read. So, so that's, this is something that directly benefits people in the town. And then another thing that we, raised significantly is the tech equipment. We're really behind on doing computer upgrades. And we're looking at a scenario where 11 months from now, can't remember why, but this is true. We are required to move everything to Windows 11, and some of our computers can't even do it. So we need some new computers so that we can accomplish that. And but also, we just need to have funds dedicated to a computer renewal process that makes sense, not just like where are we going to find some money. I will be a little critical and say that we had a chance with ARPA money to replace all the computers and didn't do it. And I think that was too bad, but I wasn't around then. So, and then I think that's basically the significant changes. There is one other change that the town is imposing on us, rightly so, which is raising our cost for the auditing from $1,300 to $1,900, but that actually puts us more in the range of our percentage of the budget to the overall town percentage of the budget, and our percentage of the auditor cost to the overall percentage of the overall cost for the auditor. So that feels fair and okay. And it could be a little higher, but they also said we're not the problem. So the auditors aren't spending all their time looking at our budget or looking at all of our finances and stuff. So that's the one kind of change that happened there. But most of the rest of it is we've tried to find savings that we could where we could, and we're trying to be more, for things like custodial supplies or even printing supplies and stuff, like looking at what we're really spending and targeting it to that, and then trying to stick to that rather than whatever the number has been for however many years and everything. And because some of those things are actually coming down a little bit. So anyway, that's the sort of big picture of the whole thing. I think it's a good budget for the library. I'm happy with it. It's the first one that I've done where I feel like we have been able to find room to make adjustments that need to be made. And so this is the first one where I haven't felt like I wish that we could do something differently. So.
And, as I mentioned, the committee that met, the finance committee agreed and is making a recommendation to the board for approval of this budget. But I wanted to see if there were any questions or comments, either from online or here in the room.
I'm sure the select board will be thrilled with level funding.
And I meant to mention that I've been asked, and anybody can join me, if the treasurers or chairs or vice chairs or whoever, on December 17th to present it to the select board, which is common, mid-December usually. And I told Scott that I'd bring him donuts if he could get me early on the agenda. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
That could be made. Would you like to make that question?
I think I ended up with the other.
What was it?
I think I ended up with the exact, was the acting chairman of that committee. So
Oh, that's right.
it's for what it's worth on me. I move that the library board of trustees approve the fiscal year 26 budget as presented with a tax appropriation $387,250 and an overall budget of $436,700, allowing for minimal adjustments within individual expense lines that do not impact the overall budget.
Thank you. Any second for the motion? Okay, Bonnie is seconding the motion. Any further discussion? All right, so, all those in favor, either raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And any abstentions? So it looks like it's unanimous passing of the motion. Thank you, everyone. All right, so moving on to the next one, another,
I just have a very quick question. I thought at one point that Brian had joined.
he had, then he jumped off somewhere.
Oh, okay, that's what I was gonna
He
say.
said he was in a noisy place.
I'm not seeing him and I'm not hearing him, so that's wondering if the votes are coming up, so whatever, it's one.
So Ryan. Okay, so, the operational policy. So the operational policy, a committee has been working on updating the operational policy manual, which was last updated in 2016. So it's gone through several revisions and meetings, and you all should have received a copy in the email along with the agenda. Would anyone like on the committee like to talk about?
We really tried to streamline it. There were a lot of places where there was redundancy in it. Where the same point would be made multiple times, so we trimmed it down to just one. We also really tried hard to make it more sort of impartial and just stating operational policies and not judgments or opinions. So it is a little bit tighter than it was, and the committee feels pretty good, and we bring it forward. So we had, I think, 3 meetings. This is the way we worked our way through, both looking at the grammar and kind of the substantive, I can't talk, kind of, what was being said. And luckily, we had several people who worked as editors on the committee, and that worked pretty well.
That was amazing. Any other comments from anyone else on the committee? All right, so
I'll just add one thing, which is that Sam, as shop steward for the union, did review the final copy of it. The union is not really involved in this, but it seemed like a goodwill gesture to make sure that as shop steward, she could review it, which she did and had no changes for it. Also, as the people on the committee know, she helped to shape and make sure it was correct any of the language around youth use of the building. And so, which is obviously really important. So anyway, just for a little context.
that's great to have that context and knowledge, so thank you, Ian. So is there any discussion about the operational policy? There's quite a lot here. It's amazing how much was cut out. It's quite lengthy.
I mean, I think the biggest change was anything that was like procedure that had ended up and it was taken out. And
So a
so
lot
that,
of procedural things were taken out, things that are not appropriate in the policy. And there was also like a lot of, as Martha said, explanations about why something might be considered bad behavior or that didn't also necessarily need to be in a policy. Policy should be what it is.
So I move that the Library Board of Trustees adopt the revised operational policy as reviewed, edited, and put forward by the policy committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any final discussion? Okay, hearing no further discussion, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Great. All those opposed? Anybody abstain? Okay, it looks like it is a full passage of the operational policy. Thank you for everyone for looking that over and for the committee for doing so much work in putting that together. All right, so the next one, TD Bank account change. So Ian, would you like to take this?
Yes, this is, so for years, some number of years, the library has had an account at TD Bank so that we could have a debit card and we could make charges with credit card, basically. And I started talking last year to the town about, was there a town card that could do this? And so they finally, allowed us to have the town card. And our accounts are, ultimately the way we would charge something to this card, and then we would get the town to pay us back so we could put the money back into the thing, which the auditors really didn't like at all, but also it's very cumbersome. And so we've had this a couple months, and so now how it works is we make charges, and then they send us a copy of the statement just for us, and then we just send them back the receipts for everything we've charged with the account numbers we want to apply. It's the easiest thing in the world, and it keeps it all very clean and very crisp. So part of the result of that is we don't any longer need to have this debit card account. We're not using the debit card, and so the idea would be close the account, move the money back into our other account, and we just continue to use this town credit card.
So is that basically just operating as sort of a petty cash credit card, debit card?
That was what it was doing for sure before.
Yeah.
Now it is, I would consider it more like we have two ways of buying things. To write a check. Yeah. We buy things with a check when we can get net 30, or we have some kind of invoice or something.
Thinking back to the days when the little business store was still here in town, so they might have run out to get something that they needed right away, and that store is full.
We still manage a $200 petty cash account for like, oh my God, we need sugar for the holiday party kind of thing.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
But I'm searching my own memory banks regarding that account. And as I said, things have changed. So I can see where that may be antiquated and no longer used at this point.
I don't think there's anything we need to do that we won't be able to do. And for example, once we got it, we started just charging things infrequently, but once in a while, once a month or so, we get something from J&H like batteries or whatever. And now we just charge it on the card, and then at the end of the month, we just say charge it to this. It used to be that they would send us an invoice, Mike would review the warrant, it would go down, the town would write a check to J&H, and it seemed very cumbersome compared to this. So I think this is much more streamlined. It's going to be and it's also just much more transparent.
So does I? There's an essential motion that can be made.
I move that the library director close the current debit account at TD Bank and transfer any residual funds in that account to the library's account at M&T Bank.
Is there a second? Thank you. All right, any further last discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye. All those opposed? Anybody abstain? Ginger is abstaining. And welcome, Ginger. It's nice to have you.
Thank you. Sorry for being late.
So we're now going to move on to other business. So we are on other business. Does anyone have any other business to bring before the board? Ian, do you have anything?
I don't think so.
Okay, hearing no other business. So let's see, review action items, propose agenda items for the next meeting. So our next meeting will be in
January.
January. I don't have the date.
I'll take a look and see if I can find it real quick. Be the third Thursday, right?
16th.
16th.
And any agenda items that people know now that we should have on our radar for that? Okay, hearing that, if you do want to have something brought up, just bring your items to either myself or Ian before the next meeting.
Do we still have open trustee positions, or are we a full board at this point?
We're a full board at this point, but there will be terms that are ending.
I guess we probably need to make that agenda item to find out who's willing to run again or how many people we need to.
We would actually have to have the
Draw.
commitments again for that.
Yeah, we probably,
But yeah, that was my
because it's
point.
the end of January.
It would be nice to know
Petitions need to be in.
who is running or.
Ryan's term is up. Your term is up.
My turn.
I think your term might be up. Yeah.
Because Ryan and I came on at the same time.
So I think those are the three.
And he's gonna step down, correct?
I don't know, actually.
Oh.
But I know you're running again.
Am I? I was gonna ask you.
Well, if you have to ask him, then that would be a yes.
Exactly.
Well, I usually give him this waffle deed. Well, if there's a new person, I'll happily step aside to bring in new blood. But I don't want there to be an empty seat.
Well, we have a little bit of time to figure it out.
You should know that by January.
Yeah, but I need to know whether I have to go to the dump and start collecting signatures.
It's only the 5th, so we have time to.
Usually give you one.
Yeah, that helps too.
Can you double check that it's just the three positions?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a little complicated because people who, like, I'm thinking of Bonnie. Yeah.
Yeah, if she's filling an incomplete term, she'll need to run again.
Yes, exactly. And that isn't true for you. You were elected for real. But Ginger, you may also have to run.
How do I find out?
I find out,
All right, let me know.
and then I let you know. Boy, that's a lot of people to have to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I'll run. I'm willing to run.
Excellent. We're holding you to that, Ginger.
All right.
Yeah.
And Bonnie, you're happy? You're willing to run again? No, you're muted. Let me see if I have it. Yep, she's good.
Gave you a piece.
Whatever she
Perfect.
said, we'll interpret it as a yes.
Nice.
Okay, so, and if you're one of those 5 people and do have a change of heart or something happens, please just let us know so we have enough time to work on trying to find any possible replacements. That's a lot of positions that will be, and we need to make sure, like, some of those are 3-year terms, some will be filling out the remainder of some terms.
Yep, exactly. So, and I have all that information. I'll share it. I'll share it with the whole board so everyone knows where things stand, and then I'll find out from the town clerk when the petitions will be available and all that stuff. So,
Thank you.
Yep.
It's about agenda items for January. Hey, hearing nothing else, review and approve warrants. Okay.
That just needs to come off of the
Just
thing.
needs to come up and address it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So.
She's ready. Second?
Second.
Okay. And I'm just gonna say, all in favor? Aye. Great to see you all online. Thank you for joining.
And these are all going to recycle.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for the link.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Mary.
It worked.
Thanks, Ginger. I see. I thought it might.
Yeah, you'll have an email of me asking if there's a link. I figured it out.
Oh, yes. All right. Yeah. I ignore your emails, Ginger. It's just Mary's that I
Good.
answer.
I'm going to
See
take
y'all.
that.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.